All right, welcome back to the Toro Hospital Studio. I'm Nick Underhill here with Mike Triplett. Brooke Kirchhoffer is on a beach in Mexico, having a much better day than us. We're going to get through this one as best as we can. We're going to break down the Bears game, going to go over the trade deadline, big injury report today, what matters, what doesn't, and we're going to keep breaking down the last game. Was the offensive explosion real or was it not? All right, we are presented by Toro Hospital, so if you have any medical needs, make sure you go and check them out. They will get you right if you need to get right. And we are presented by PJ's Coffee. They got locations all throughout the city. Go check them out. Get your day started with them every single day. And if you need a new car, check out my guy, Matt Bowers. Locations all over the Gulf Coast South region. The best car dealer in the whole entire area. They'll get you the best prices, the best customer care, and they will get you out of there in the most pain-free way possible. All right, let's hit these ads. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Are you looking for the perfect engagement ring? Look no further than Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' new engagement salon. This new area houses a wide selection of engagement rings to choose from in all cuts, sizes, and colors. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect ring to express your love. Visit their new engagement salon today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the perfect ring for the perfect moment and also for the perfect person. 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett Street. 504-866-5433. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Check them out at friendandcompany.com. Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show. All right, let's get into our lead topic presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Saints didn't add anyone at the trade deadline. There were some reports that they got close to adding guys like Hunter Renfrow, a bunch of BS reports about different things that didn't actually come out. And we'll see how that goes for them. We're going to break all that down. And the lead topic is presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. They have a new engagement salon opening. They're very excited about that. The official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints. And if you need any jewelry, check out their Fleur-de-Lis earrings and necklace.
Jewelry. There is a big holiday coming up.
Yeah, Christmas is coming up. So make sure you go there, check that out. They look at you a special price for our NOF audience on their Fleur-de-Lis earrings and necklace that are currently on the screen or just left the screen. So, all right. Anyhow, the deal with Renfrow, that feels like it's something that was like months and months and months in the making. We heard about it before Carr came on the team. They've had their eye on him for a while. Ian Rappaport said it got close, but they could not close the deal.
They probably couldn't close the deal because there was nobody to talk to because everybody in
was fired.
With the Raiders was being fired. So I wonder if that prevented a deal from happening if the deadline had been any longer. Maybe they could have got Devontae Adams too and Max Crosby, who's close friends with Derek Carr. That would have been nice. The weird thing about the Hunter Renfrow deal is I kind of want to say you don't need Hunter Renfrow.
I agree.
Because they're supposed to have Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Jawan Johnson, Taysom, other guys. But to say that this offense doesn't need help would be like we've been screaming for 7 weeks before this last game about how the offense is in despair. So I don't think they needed Hunter Renfrow, but it certainly couldn't have hurt, I guess. I think if anything, maybe the offensive line is the area that would have helped this offense even more if they were going to add. Certainly a pass rusher would have helped. But But as we said last week, the Saints are in a weird kind of limbo where I wouldn't have wanted to see them do anything major. I mean, the Bears gave up a second for Montez Sweat. If the Saints had given up a second for Montez Sweat, I would have been like, all right, they're going for it. But I kind of get why they didn't do anything in either direction.
I don't think, and I'm not saying that they can't add to their team and make them better, because you can obviously add players and make your team better. But I think the things that ail the Saints, like if you bring in Devontae Adams and they don't cure all this other stuff, like Devontae Adams isn't fixing the offense if you aren't blocking better, if you aren't calling better plays, if Derek Carr isn't consistent, if your red zone offense isn't better. So it feels like the pieces should be there for them to get everything together and make the playoffs. Like, I don't know if there's like 7 teams competing in the NFC right now. Like, it is a very, very bad conference. Like, there aren't many good teams. Saints feel like one of the teams that should be in that mix. Nobody has a healthy quarterback anymore. Like, it's just very weird right now. So I think they have the guys they could to get where they want to go. Obviously, you could have added them. Renfro would have been a decent piece. I just don't know where he fits in. And I think he ends up being a Saint next season after they cut him.
Like
they're going to end up cutting him. They got to cut him. Like, you can't keep this guy around. So it's a little bit weird. Just kind of follow up on the receiver situation. Like, Olave's kind of having a little bit of a weird time. We talked to him today. We'll get into that. Why can't Derek Carr connect on slants with Mike Thomas? Like, there's just like a lot of weird stuff that's going on right now. Where do you kind of sit on the overall picture with how things are with these wide receivers?
I think there's 2 big issues with this offense. Well, I hate to say Pete Carmichael's not one of them because we dissected him like crazy, but the big 2 to me ahead of play calling are the offensive line. Do I believe the steps I saw? I mean, actually, yes, because they were so bad the first 3 weeks of the season and then still not that much better the first 6 weeks of the season that I expected them to be above average, slightly above average, if not way above average. So slightly above average offensive line play is not too much to ask for with the players that they have, especially with Hurst coming back. They're going to get to pick the starting 5 that they want. And that receiver connection. Yeah, Derek Carr needs to, make this look a lot easier with Olave, especially Michael Thomas on slants. He did get the back shoulder throw to him early in the game. Juwan Johnson, that connection that looked like it was going to be, our money segment every week in training camp hasn't materialized at all yet. He was dealing with an injury for part of the way. Jimmy Graham might have even been a healthy and active, or his illness might have been the reason he didn't play. Those guys should be good enough. For Rashid Shaheed, obviously, there's been ups and downs there, a big up this week, but that should be enough. But we're halfway through the season, and it still feels like OTAs with those guys sometimes.
Yeah, it does. And it's been weird. Look, Olave, like, legitimately, and I've gotten slack for it like a few times with ups and downs. I'll get a couple tweets, like, send him stuff that I said during training camp. He legitimately looked like he was on superstar development path. Like, it was every single day there was a big play, there was a contested catch. He was going up, catching passes over people, keeping the ball going to the ground. His route running was unbelievable. Like, he was dominating day in and day out. And I think that's still there. Like, but I think he hit the skids, and I think there was some public criticism. And I don't think that Chris Olave's probably ever been publicly criticized the way he has been. And it became like, it was nothing. And then it was just like complete open season on him. And it was just people piling on over and over and over. And I think that affected him. Like, I really do. We talked to him today. He said he recognizes that he's in a slump, that the last month has been bad. It's all got to be better. I thought he said all the right things about everything, but you got to go out on the field and kind of actually get on the other side of this. And that's what we need to see. Like, I think he did kind of fix some of the effort on the clear out routes and stuff like that. Like, there was only one play in this game that I looked at and I was like, was that like a little bit weird? But I don't think it was an issue that much in this game. I don't expect that to be an issue going forward. But I think, like, just the general, like, focus and execution element of it right now is just off with him. And he said he just needs one game to get back on track. Like, during the last game, I felt like just get him the ball a couple times and like,
well,
just
they tried to a couple times.
Yeah, but just like let him feel good. Like, let him feel good. Hit him on a couple, call up a shot play for him. Like, let him do something that just kind of like gets him going. Problem, and I think that's all it needs to be right now.
I don't think it's their problem. I think they tried to do that in this game, and then
after the one hit his head, they went to him once. But they
went to him on the next 2 plays were both to him. It was an incompletion on that play, and then the first pass in the next series. I did this in the story that's probably posting while we're on the air right now. In the last 5 games, he has 45 targets, and he's caught less than half of them. He has 22 catches on 45 targets. So they're trying. And then look, in a vacuum, that one that hit him in the face that can happen to anyone. No big deal. But in a moment where Chris Olave is saying to us, I feel like I'm close. I just need one big game and everything will be back to where it was. To have that happen and then the next pass sail over his head, and to have what did he catch? Like 7 out of 15 targets or 8 out of 15 targets or whatever it is. Like, the frustration can build. Like, if you're putting that much pressure on one good game to fix everything and then you have another rough game, I just think there's so much pressure on him right now. I do agree. He gave a great answer about the effort. He said, like, he was being very like, yeah, that's on me. Yeah, that's on me. And then when he got asked about effort, no, don't question my effort. My effort is there. Like, he wasn't mean about it, but he was like, strong about it. That is not something you have to worry about with me. Don't worry about my effort. And I believe him. I think he is going to work hard to get out of this. I don't think he's loafing. I don't think he's, unhappy or anything like that. I think he's going to work through it. But I think he's feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders right now, and that is not that easy to overcome.
Yeah, and look, on some of those routes, like, the whole offense was kind of bad, and he somehow ended up being becoming the face of it for a little bit,
right.
which I think is a little bit unfair. Like, Derek Carr was kind of struggling too, and I think like his body language on those plays and the effort was just kind of like a reflection of the general frustration that I can confidently say damn near the whole entire team seemed to be feeling. Every time we were talking to people, like, they were frustrated. Like, I think it just exhibited in his play. There was some stuff in Rashid's play that showed up on the field. Like, I think it was a little bit of like Mike Thomas is the only receiver like where you never saw any, like, he was just going all out every single time. But that's just what Mike does. But I think it just kind of manifested, and then Chris kind of got caught on it, and then he got caught on it in the worst possible way. And then I think it just spiraled out of control. I don't know. Like, I'm not fully worried about him. I'm a little, but I do think that, like, he can probably click and get back on track pretty quick. And
I think he's their wide receiver one in the second half of the season. I mean, depending on your definition of what that means, Michael Thomas is going to keep doing Michael Thomas things, but I think Olave is going to end up with more catches and more yards. And he's not going to, like, go quietly away from this offense, and he hasn't. Even throughout all this, they're still targeting like double-digit targets every game.
I think the biggest issue with those guys is him and Derek. I don't think him and Derek are on the same page yet.
Right.
Like, I don't think that they have, like, the chemistry yet. Like, there's just clearly they're seeing the field differently on different types of plays. Like, I don't think that they kind of, like, know where the ball is going to go sometimes. Like, I think Derek's throwing it places where Chris isn't expecting it, or Chris is, doing the wrong thing, and Derek's, like, who knows who's right or wrong. But, like, there's just like like the detail of it, like, just does not seem to be there. And it's one of those things, like, seen at practice, like, Mike and Derek, like, back shoulder throw 1, 2, 3, 50, like, they're doing it over and over and over. No, I want to hear. No, I want to hear. Like, I think that's the stuff it takes to kind of get there. And I just don't know that it's as detailed as it should be, which is crazy because him and Chris look so good during training camp, but I guess it's a little bit different live bullets. Yeah. Like, people are hiding their coverages. Like, you're reading it different. Chris might think you're supposed to do one thing against one leverage, Derek's doing another, and now all of a sudden, like, it just doesn't look right. And I think that's the biggest issue with them right now. So we'll see if they get it like they need to for this team to achieve everything it needs to achieve. All right. So they got 511 yards against the Colts. That's the NFL's worst scoring defense, though. You buying or selling what we saw this week?
The one thing to go back to the conversation we were just having, my favorite thing about last week is nobody's pretending like this isn't a problem. Like, they are all acknowledging that they were in a critical mode. Nobody was like, there were some lines like, hey, it's just 7 weeks in the season, but that's to remind everyone that if we get things turned around, there's still a lot out in front of us. Nobody was pretending you guys are making too big of a deal out of this. They were making a big deal out of it. They were having extra meetings. They were having extra conversations. These practices have been going longer. And I think they did pinpoint some of the right things. And actually, we talked about that Chris Olave, the ball bouncing off his helmet. That was a gorgeous play. Chris Olave said, we've been working on that one for 3 weeks. We finally called it. And that's part of the reason why he was so upset about it. It was a gorgeous play that should have worked. There were some good play calls. There was some good red zone play. There was some good third down play. Yes, the defense matters, but hey, guess what? They don't play many good defenses all season long. So it's better than the alternative. And Dennis Allen, he said in the post-game speech, he said it's the first time since 2018 that we've gained 400 yards 3 weeks in a row. That would have rung empty if they hadn't turned it into a win. But you're like, oh, yeah, actually, that is a fairly good point. They are trending in the right direction at least, but they have their flaws, no doubt about it.
I mean, they did get about 200 of those on possibly the worst cornerback in the NFL. Like, so I think it does need a little bit of perspective. They're going to
face a lot of bad cornerbacks, though.
I mean, but not like that. That dude's not even like he got. Like they worked out 5 guys the next day. Guy shouldn't have been on the field. All right, so we got the injury report today. A lot of guys on it. Ty Summers did not practice, concussion/hamstring. Lynn Bowden Jr. has the bug that's been going around, so he did not practice. Notable guys that were limited: Mike Thomas. We didn't see him out there. Apparently, he practices in a little bit limited capacity. I talked to him after practice. He said that they told him to take a step back because he lost some weight from the illness. They didn't want him to push it too far and have anything critical. Taysom Hill was limited with a hip injury. He was out there at the beginning of practice, then disappeared. Jimmy Graham had a rest day. Ramczyk had a rest day. James Hurst returned. Demario Davis was limited with a knee injury. So some stuff trending in the right direction. It's going to be interesting with Hurst coming back. They have a decision to make. Does he go back to guard or does he go back to tackle? Andrews Pete might be their best left tackle.
Well, okay. So me and Kevin had a longer discussion on this during the members only pod, which you guys should check out. But he was making the point that he agrees. I think we both agree. Andrews Pete has played the best left tackle of the year. You've made the point though that Pete is definitely their best left guard. So with all due respect to James Hurst, I kind of agree that Pete has probably, especially in recency bias, outplayed him at both of those positions. So the question is,
Max Garcia.
Well, if you're taking Max Garcia out, which I think is the most likely path, do you go Pete left tackle, Hurst left guard, even though Hurst struggled at left guard earlier this season, or do you go Hurst left tackle where he played his best football last season, Pete left guard where he's played his best football in recent, like? Do you go back to the old, left tackle is so important? Or is the run game so important that, no, I want Pete at left guard because he's my best left guard? Like, if you agree Pete is the better player at both positions, where is it more important to have Pete?
I mean, my thing with Hurst is he was so aggressively mid. And I'm the wrong person to talk to about the left tackle stuff because, like, I thought he was, like, I think a lot of people have a different review than me. Like, I thought he was so aggressively mid at left tackle.
But did you think he was better at left tackle than he was at left guard?
I thought he limited your run game at left tackle. I would rather put him at guard. I'd rather put him at guard because I think there's just less to have to handle. Like, there's just less you got to handle. There's less space you got to handle. You got to handle a little more space at tackle. Like, so I would rather have Pete there, and I would rather have Hurst at guard. Like, I
wouldn't be surprised if they go that route.
I don't know. I think that's the way I'd have to go about it. I think left tackle is definitely a more valuable position too. I mean, it just is. So that's the way I would go. I would go Pete and I would go Hurst on the inside. What are you doing?
I might do that, but just from a comfort level standpoint, I think that's 2 guys who are quote unquote playing out of position. Yes, Andrews Pete did look good in this game, but that just gives me more confidence that Andrews Pete is back a little bit, and left guard is where he's played for like the last 5-6 years. I think. I don't break down the film like you do, but I like Hurst at left tackle better than Hurst at left guard just because Hurst at left guard at the beginning of the year is the worst overall offensive line play I've seen from this team in all my years covering it. So just everything they were doing in the first 3 weeks wasn't working. So
I think my question that would be like, is that a symptom of having a tackle that had to leave the field?
No, that's possible.
It probably is. It probably is a little bit. So I would put Hurst. I don't know. We'll see.
Either way,
what they do.
I like that they have those options, and I like how I like the confidence Andrews Pete is playing with at either position now. It's good to have him be something that we consider a positive with this team.
I'd like it if they had different options on both of them.
Well, fair.
So yep. Okay, so we're on to the moment of the day presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Paulson Adebo might have had his best game in a Saints uniform. How do we expect him to build on it and make it the norm and not just a singular moment? Bears wide receiver DJ Moore is one of the toughest assignments he's going to see. He was fifth with 600. He's fifth in the league with 691 receiving yards, despite the Bears quarterback issues that have carried on throughout the season. No Justin Fields this week.
Yeah, I mean, you are kind of worried about DJ Moore. I think you're less worried about him with Tyson Bagent kind of the turning back into a pumpkin in his second career NFL start. But I'm trying to think. Mike Evans was playing at a monster rate. I mean, this is one of the best receivers they're going to face all season. But I kind of have faith in Adebo. The thing that I like so much about Adebo this year, as I pointed out, I wrote about him in the fallout after the game on Monday. I was asking questions about him last week about it was especially noticeable that they didn't have Marshawn Lattimore shadow Calvin Ridley. Then in this game, they didn't have Marshawn Lattimore shadow Michael Pittman, and it was Adebo being trusted in solo coverage deep down the field against Michael Pittman when he made that interception. Like, they're showing a lot of trust in Adebo, and they're not shying away from Adebo matching up against number one receivers and just playing left and right. And I think they even said they added an extra body to help with their run defense when they were getting chewed up by Taylor and Moss. Trust in Adebo. I think that's been a huge development for this team this year.
I think he's had a solid season. I mean, just overall, there hasn't been a lot of negative. There's a couple penalties. I mean, that's always
more than a couple. He's leading the team and 4 deep PI penalties.
It's always going to be part of his game. It just is. It's something that's going to happen. It's the way he plays. He rides the rails a little bit. You can live with some of those penalties when you aren't giving up a ton of catches either. And I just kind of think that he's mitigated the damage a little bit. And I like how he's playing. I think this is kind of what we expected to see last year in training camp. We were all hyping his development. Like, he took the next step. He looks a lot better. He's doing all these things, and then he gets injured, and then I don't think he ever looked quite how we expected him to look last year. I think it's kind of just delayed gratification on what we saw from training camp a year ago. But yeah, I think he's looked really good so far. And look, it helps when you aren't playing superstar quarterbacks either. And you aren't necessarily having every mistake.
That's not going to change either.
They don't see a real quarterback the rest of the month. So I expect the secondary to kind of stay great. This is probably, like we said, probably his best game as a
Dennis
Saint.
Allen said that too. He said it was his best game. And I mean, statistically it was. He had 3 pass breakups. That interception return, maybe they should make him the punt return.
Yeah, shout out to Brian Brzee. Brian Brzee made that play happen too. All right, so we're going to get into our break. Coming up, we got our question of the day. We got our money segment, and we'll keep breaking down the upcoming game against the Bears.
Score big with the kickoff combo at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Each comes with fried shrimp, garlic herb fries, and your choice of soft-shelled crab, our famous thin-fried catfish, or traditional catfish, starting at $10.99 at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
No loan payments for 90 days with local financing from Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union on your next auto, boat, RV, ATV, or motorcycle. That's right, no loan payments for 90 days when you close your loan by December 31st. Jefferson Financial offers easy-to-use online applications, fast decisions, and local personalized service. The financial products you want with the convenience you deserve. We are Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
At Turo, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Turo, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care and newborns to seniors, at Turo, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance drawings, giving you a season to smile.
All right, welcome back to the Toro Hospital studio, and it is now time for our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. They got a great deli too, so make sure you go and check that out. All right. Do you think the red zone offense we saw against the Colts is sustainable?
No. That was too good. I mean, come on. That was like a season's worth of here's the best red zone plays of our entire season. And I'm counting the 20-yard touchdown, even though technically that didn't count. They started 4 for 4. The only time they didn't score was at the end of the game when they were chewing off the clock and then settled for the field goal. So they probably would have gone 5 for 5. That is not sustainable. But do I think water will find its level and they won't be one of the worst red zone teams in the league like we saw in the first 7 weeks? Yeah, I think they'll probably be somewhere about what the entire offense is. This is a flawed offense that will probably, everybody can hope they'll be the 15th to 20th best offense in the league and the 15th to 20th best offense in the red zone. I think those are realistic hopes.
I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but like we didn't see anything in this game that cures the suspicion on Derek Carr's career-long woes in the red zone. He hit on one pass for a touchdown, and Alvin Kamara broke a bunch of tackles to get there. Like it was a little choice route, and he took it the distance. The rest of it's running. I mean, I think they should attempt to run more in the red zone every single week.
Taysom Hill in the red zone.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill in the red zone.
Like the thing is, like they took the ball away from Derek kind of in the red zone. It was Taysom and it was Alvin, and then it should be more Jamal Williams too. Like they can do that, but at some point your quarterback's probably gonna have to hit passes for you to score points, and I don't think it's gonna work out the way it worked out last week every single week, and I don't know that we have the answer to that yet. So I'm still, I'm with you. No, and to be determined. And in terms of that like level rising, I'm not buying yet. I need to see it again. I think there might be something to purchase at some point, but I don't see the deal that I'm willing to grab right now and say he's sold. Like I need to see a little bit more before I'm fully
sold. The one
thing
I liked is that we saw Taysom Hill in the red zone. We haven't seen enough of that. We've been seeing Alvin in the red zone recently. That didn't happen at all last year. There was like no Alvin in the red zone. Who am I forgetting? Juwan Johnson is back. Could theoretically be and Jamal Williams had his best game so far in the limited sample size he's had. So it's just a reminder, having Juwan Johnson back, having Jamal Williams be part of the mix, they have so many options. And at some point we expect maybe a Chris Olave touchdown, God forbid, maybe a Michael Thomas touchdown, God forbid. They only have one each all season long. And that doesn't even get into, Jimmy Graham if he's ever going to be a part of the solution. But they have all these options.
Yeah, it's going to get better because
to see them introducing some of their variety, I guess, in this game.
That's fair. I mean, it's going to get better because it can't really get worse in the second half of the season. But I don't know if it's going to be like where you expect it to be. I just got to see a little bit more before like I'm optimistic about it, I guess is the way I would put it.
I will say this though, even in this game, I was not too excited about what I saw from the run game early on until Taysom Hill started making some big plays. I mean, Alvin had a 16-yard touchdown run. He still only averaged 3.5 yards a carry in the whole game. I still need to see this offensive line block for the run game better, but seeing at least those run game highlights in the red zone, it was their best rushing performance of the season for sure. If they're going to have some semblance of a run game in the second half, that makes every part of the offense better.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. All right, now time for the money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Did the Saints actually get a steal when they signed defensive end Carl Granderson to a 4-year, $52 million contract extension in September? He has already matched his career highs with 5.5 sacks and 9 tackles for a loss, and he already has soared past his career high with 12 quarterback hits. How you feel about that deal?
Yes, they got a steal. I wrote the question, but at the time they signed it, which was week 2-ish, I was like, I don't know who I thought won. I was like, yeah, it's good to get out ahead of it in case he has a monster year. $13 million is kind of a bargain for an edge rusher now. It's less than like what Trey Hendrickson went out and made on the open market. But Carl Granderson was a guy that we didn't even know if he would keep his starting job heading into the season. We were wondering if Peyton Turner could beat him out or Isaiah Foskey would challenge for him. Carl Granderson should he should be like a second team All-Pro if he keeps this up all year. He's the second best player on their defense this year, I think, next to Marshawn Lattimore. You could make a case for him as team MVP so far this year. And the consistency he has a sack in, I think, 5 of the 6 of the 8 games or something like that. I mean, he's playing lights out, and it's not just like the occasional edge rush. He's chasing guys down the field. He's good in run defense for the most part. He's not perfect in that area, but he's exceeded my expectations. He really has.
He is their pass rush. Yeah. Like, he is all they got right now. Yeah. Like individually, he's the only guy that's winning one-on-ones. He's the only guy really getting anything done. It's $1 million more a season than Davenport got from
same
same exact price.
They're tied at $13 million per year.
So I mean, if you look at it
guaranteed money,
you look at it like that. I mean, it's an incredible deal for him. I liked it when they signed it because it just kind of felt like they were getting ahead of a breakout like a little bit. I think it's a very friendly deal to the team. I think it works out well for Carl too. But yeah, definitely it feels like a bargain at this point. And you keep doing like he had 5.5 sacks last year. If he would have got to like 7.5 this year as the total, I think the deal's a win at that price. That's probably about the going rate for about 7.5 sacks. I mean, so I like it a lot for him, and it feels like there's definitely room for growth. And they get some of these other guys going. Like, I think his numbers would be even better. Like, he's doing this in spite of like a lack of production from a lot of other guys right now.
You break down the film, and I know you've been really skeptical about their pass rush. Individually, I think Brzee is about what I expected. He's not perfect. Every time you ask Dennis Allen about him, he still talks about how he needs to get his leverage lower. He still plays too high, but he obviously keeps making plays. I like what I've seen from Malcolm Roach. I think Colin Saunders and Nathan Shepard are fine. They're about what I expected. I think Cam Jordan is still an asset. Obviously, he's not in his prime anymore. Tano is a good third DE. Like, they're missing one more star, I think, in that mix, but I think of it as a plus. You think the pass rush is a concern, or
yeah, I think it's a major concern. They aren't really getting sacks. I mean,
they're not getting sacks, but
there's not enough production at all. I'm definitely more like, I don't think Nathan Shepard's the deal they signed him to. He should be making some plays. I don't really see a lot of it
in this game.
I thought Saunders would have a little bit more going in the pass rush. Brzee's young. He's kind of just doing what he's doing. Look, I think that the elephant in the room is like Cam Jordan just doesn't have the production right now. Like, that's something that I think is lower than we probably would have expected it to be at this point, just in terms of like pure production. Like, sometimes the pressures are there. I thought he had a good amount of pressure in this game, but like the finishing of plays, I think across the board is significantly worse. And then like, I don't think that they've been able to manufacture like that, the other position pass rusher that they've had in other seasons. Like, it's been DeMario, right. It was Caden Ellis. Like, I don't think that they've been able to manufacture that in the way that they've wanted to either. So I think overall the pass rush is, I think it's significantly lower.
Let me rephrase my question. And look, Dennis Allen's answer to that question, I asked him about the pass rush last week, and I don't think Dennis Allen has been sugarcoating things this year, but he actually said his response on the pass rush is, he goes, well, I think it's always the pass rush and pass coverage go hand in hand. So if you're making the quarterback throw quicker, he goes, I just overall like our pass defense this year. He's happy with their pass defense, and I think he should be. Nobody's torn them up, I don't think, as a passer this year. The worst thing they've done is let quarterbacks scramble when plays aren't developing. So even though the pass rush production numbers aren't there, I don't know that I would reach liability state. I don't think I've seen quarterbacks sitting comfortably back there picking them apart. And I kind of like all the individuals. I think I'd like to add to it, but I don't think there's anyone that I'm like, I want that guy off the field. I don't know that there's anybody that I think is a liability.
I think there's guys you should get off the field by having better players, though. Yeah, I mean, I think that, Peyton Turner's not on the field. Isaiah Foskey's not earning his place on the field. I think, man, I kind of think it's a big issue, and I think they kind of cover it up by being able to cover as well as they do.
I did not like their run defense, though, in this game, obviously. Now, that was another thing where Allen said when they reviewed the film, there were probably 3 or 4 bad breakdowns, and the other plays did not grade out that poorly. But I think it was their first real test against a team that can run the ball, and they got fairly exposed that the good run defense numbers from early in the season might have been more about the opponents they were facing.
I just think as well as you're covering, like, at some point, like, other guys need to start making plays, and it just hasn't happened yet. Like, you kind of got one guy making a lot of plays. I don't disagree though. Like, there is pressure, but like, your pressure needs to finish, and I think the schedule helps too. Like, I think the schedule and the quality of the opponent is maybe helping you hide a little bit of it too. So I wouldn't feel comfortable with what they have. Like, I think going into the offseason, like, that is absolutely number one on the board. Like, you have to go get a better pass rusher.
I don't think they hit on it with Isaiah Foskey. We'll see. He actually made the biggest play of his career in this game. It was almost the sack fumble, and instead his first career pass defense when he hit Minshew as he threw. But he could maybe be part of the rotation. He's not. I guess maybe Carl Granderson could be a number 1 and they need a number 2, or maybe Carl Granderson's a number 2 and they need a number 1. But obviously they didn't hit on it with Davenport. They didn't hit on it with Turner. They haven't hit on it with Foskey yet.
Serviceable is kind of the word. The group is serviceable. Like, they're what, 5th in yards, 9th in points, or do I have that backwards? One of them, they're 5th in one and 9th in the other. So, I mean, it's not, it's not an alarm situation. They can get by with it, but it could definitely be significantly better, I think. All right. The anti-money segment, which
this is an alarm situation.
Yeah, this isn't the Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. This is like keeping the money under the mattress segment. The Saints have lost 2 of their home games, 3 of their last 4 at home, and they are 8-11 in the Dome since the start of the 2021 season. Why isn't this a home field advantage anymore? How do they fix it?
I wrote this question too.
You should have an answer.
But this time, no answer. Not even close. I mean, honestly, I mentioned this before they went and won that New England game, that I had heard New England related media talking about how it was a bad time for Mac Jones to be at home because as soon as they started bad, the fans were going to be booing. The last time the Saints were home, before they fixed this problem in Indianapolis, they were getting booed early in the first quarter by the home fans before they tried to make it close against Jacksonville. It's a hostile environment right now. Like the way they're playing, they've earned that. I'm not blaming the fans, but I think there's like more pressure at home on this team right now. They can just feel the wind being sucked out of the place when they get off to a slow start, and they keep getting off to slow starts. Even in Indy, they got off to a slow start. So I think most of it is if your team's playing well, you have a good home record, you have a good road record. But I think when your team's not playing well, it's even tougher to play at home. And I think we've seen that bear out for 3 straight years.
To be fair, like since Jameis Winston got hurt, so we're going back to the 2021 season. Like if I was paying my good money to watch Trevor Siemian and Andy Dalton blow fourth quarter leads and Derek Carr struggle after bringing all this hope with them and Taysom not live up to the Steve Young expectation that was unfairly hung on him, like I would probably be booing too. That's a lot of money to spend to watch them kind of be bad. Like I think the issue is that they've been inconsistent and bad. That's why their record is inconsistent, and it reflects kind of what they've been over that span. It's a little bit worse than what they were. They won some more games on the road, but yeah, I understand it. I understand why the atmosphere is what it is. I think if Carr gets locked in, gets his chemistry and everything, they're fine. I mentioned this on the show with Brooke after the game, and it was pointed out to me, and it was kind of eye-opening a little bit. When Brady went to Tampa Bay, like we thought their offense stunk for 7 weeks, and they finally figured it out in week 8. And then they go on, they win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here, but it is like a dose of perspective of like as fired up as everybody gets. Like sometimes it does take a little bit of time for a new quarterback to get used to a new system, used to new receivers, used to a new OC, especially when they've been in one place their whole entire life and everything was kind of built to cater around them. Like you're going in and kind of figuring out a new way of doing things. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time. So that is one dose of perspective that there might be hope going forward from this.
Yeah, and look, the other thing about the atmosphere as it plays into the team, the Saints are at their best when they're lighting up the scoreboard. And, they can play stand up and get crunk, or they can play whatever else they want to add to the mix, or chop a style or whatever, and people are dancing on the sideline. When you've had an anemic offense they've had, you have less opportunities to breathe life into the dome. They've counted on their defense, and I think it's still an asset for their defense. Crowd noise does deliver when it's third down for the other team. We're still seeing false starts. We're still seeing communication problems, but it is up to the offense to create the atmosphere. The fans can't be expected to sustain it for 4 hours if you don't give them something to get them out of their seats.
Absolutely. All right. So they will not see Justin Fields this week. No Kirk Cousins next week. Do we know if Justin Jefferson's coming back yet? Is there any word on that? To be determined?
Justin Jefferson might be like, I might need to really rest this for the rest of the season, depending on how things goes. But no, I haven't heard an updated timetable on him. But.
All right. So we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, subscribe to NewOrleans.Football. Get our pregame show, the members only podcast, all of our analysis, and we'll talk to you next time.